Chapter 8. Past Memories. Cal's point of view. After going through a long story about my past, I managed to get through to Annika. She actually did listen for once as I talked. Do you mind telling me your story now? Annika sighed deeply. A little nervous at first, but I could tell she was willing to open up. When I was little, my parents and I decided to move to Coruscant. All I remember is that they worked alongside the Republic. Life was good and simple. We had each other, and that's all we could ever ask for. Then that dreadful day came, she started. I remember my mother, holding my hand tightly as we ran down the streets. We got stuck at a dead end, but I didn't understand what was going on. Both of my parents found a safe place to hide, but it was only big enough for me to fit. The last thing I remember was them telling me to shut my eyes and cover my ears, and that they loved me. I did as I was told, but covering my ears didn't do much. I heard my mother scream and my father cry out in pain. I broke the promise and peeked a little at the scene. I saw a bright flash of light for a split second. The next thing I knew, both of my parents were lying on the ground next to each other. I checked their wounds and saw they both had marks on their chests. I heard footsteps running in the distance and saw someone with a lightsaber, as you call it, in their hand. I only saw their silhouette, so I couldn't identify who it was, but from that day on, I've always hated the Jedi. I realized I had no place to go after that and had to learn a lot on my own. Then one day, I met Dex, the owner of that diner you and I met at. He raised me as his own and gave me everything I needed. I learned how to defend myself and worked there for a while until I was ready to venture out on my own. I cut Annika off for a moment. So, what did you do once you were on your own? I was a martial artist for a while. I wanted to teach others how to fight and feel more confident in themselves, she added. What made you stop? I asked. One of the students I had gambled with bounty hunters. I shut down my business and moved deeper into the city where no one could find me. Honestly, Cal, I still have conflict with the Jedi, but you've proven to me that you aren't like the rest. The Jedi aren't like that though, Annika. How can you be sure? Everyone else said they betrayed us. I tried my hardest not to get annoyed and remained patient with Annika. What you were told about them was a lie. We were anything but traitors. We were peacekeepers. We were betrayed by those we protected, hunted down by the Empire, and still are, as you can see from our little experience together. Annika, I know what it's like to lose everything, to watch your world fall apart right in front of your eyes. I know trust right now for you isn't easy, but I'm not going to harm you. Haven't I at least proven that as a Jedi? She was going to say something, but stopped once we heard something in the distance. We both followed the sound and got closer to see the commotion. It's an Imperial garrison, I began. It looks abandoned, though. I've got a bad feeling about this, she replied as we walked down. Don't worry, we'll be fine. I hope. I whispered that last part. As we made our way down to the garrison, I looked around carefully. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Vines covered almost majority of the building, and the technical stuff had rusted over time. Think there's something we can salvage for the ship? Annika asked. Whatever is left, but I guess it couldn't hurt to use something, I replied. I suddenly felt another presence nearby, but it wasn't friendly. Annika, get behind me, I whispered loudly. We both took cover behind a wall. I slowly peeked out and saw a handful of bounty hunters walking down to the entrance of the garrison. It's the Haxian brood. They're looking for us. Let's go before they know we're here, Annika replied. Wasn't long until we both made our way back into the jungle. Time skip. Annika's point of view. We made it back to the Mantis just in time before it got dark. When we got inside, we noticed Grease and Marin weren't around. You don't think they went into the jungle to look for us, do you? I asked. No, Grease wouldn't leave the Mantis even if his life depended on it. Something was definitely off. Once Cal and I were back outside, I stopped in my tracks. Wait, Cal, freeze! He didn't have time to react fast enough and got tased by an electrical rope. Before I could help him, I got tased as well, by the same rope. It felt like my body just got barbecued for a split second, although it lasted longer than that. When the shock was over, I weakly looked over at Cal, but he was completely knocked out. Soon, footsteps approached me, but I was too weak to look up. "It's going to be a great payday," said the bounty hunter. I struggled to stay awake, but I felt my eyes close, finally knocking out. End of Chapter 8.